it's going to be almost impossible for them to have a completed pass and run another play. They're going to have to really hustle.
They got to throw 2 Hail Marys. Down the middle of the field, and the pass is picked off by Harrison. And 9 seconds remain, and the New England Patriots are on their way to solidifying their team as an NFL dynasty.
In 2004, the Patriots truly cemented their legacy as a dominant franchise, and the last team in their way was the Philadelphia Eagles. But the thing is, the team that the Eagles had during that time had gone to 4 straight conference championships. This is the team that should have brought Philadelphia their first Super Bowl ring. So let me give a quick shout out to my sponsor SeatGeek. If you want to get cheap tickets for any event, use the app SeatGeek. It puts tickets from across the internet into one place, making buying simple, and they do this on a rating scale from 1 to 100, so you know you're getting a good deal. Plus, if you still haven't used it yet, use my promo code KTO for $20 off your first purchase. Come on, you know you don't want to miss out on cheap tickets. Now, let's dive into this video. Prior to Super Bowl 52, there were 13 NFL teams left that had never won a Super Bowl. 4 of these teams had never even been to the game itself. These franchises had a chance to make history. Of those teams, those cities, Philadelphia in terms of American history stands out. In the early Super Bowl era, other than the story of Vince Papale, the 30-year-old bartender who tried out and made the team, the Eagles were pretty much a laughingstock for 20 years. But the man who was the reason that Papale was even a story was head coach Dick Vermeil. 1980 was their very first appearance in the Super Bowl. The Eagles had a great squad, led by quarterback Ron Jaworski. But in the end, the Raiders would get the best of them. In fact, the game wasn't even all that close. Eventually, Dick Vermeil was gone. He did go on to win a ring with the Rams years later, while Philly couldn't get over the playoff hump. So now, this is where our story really begins, because in 1999, everything would change. The Eagles were coming off a 3-13 season. It was time for a fresh start, so they hired Andy Reid. The 40-year-old quarterbacks coach from Green Bay would become the second youngest head coach ever. At the time, fans were pissed. They thought they were going to get a guy like Bill Parcells or Mike Shanahan, guys who had been there, who were proven winners. Instead, they got someone that you could say was pretty unknown at the time. Andy Reid, the former quarterbacks coach. His first decision, go get a quarterback.
Second pick, the Philadelphia Eagles select Donovan McNabb, quarterback, Syracuse University.
Once again, fans were upset. They even booed during the pick. The hot name at the time and the player that every Philly fan wanted was Texas running back Ricky Williams. Andy Reid knew what he was doing. Not even 2 seasons had passed by, and McNabb had cemented himself as a legit Pro Bowl quarterback. And this Philadelphia defense was as stingy as anyone's. This was near the beginning of the Brian Dawkins era, who was one of the most ruthless safeties throughout the 2000s. Although they did lose in the divisional round of the playoffs, this did put the revamped Eagles back on the map. The following season in 2001, they won their division for the first time since 1988. They would go on to make it to their first conference championship appearance since their last Super Bowl run, which was over 20 years. They did end up running into a dominant Rams squad, who finished the regular season 14-2. No one blamed the Eagles for the loss. In fact, they were underdogs by double digits. In 2002, this team was legit. McNabb even missed multiple games, and they still finished 12-4, won the division, and breezed their way into the NFC Championship. Now, the Eagles had been there twice. At this point, with how good they had become, it wasn't just about getting there. It was win or bust. Unfortunately, they ran into the Red Hot Bucks, who were the eventual Super Bowl champs. 2003, they finished once again as the best team in the NFC. They were entering their 3rd NFC championship in a row, playing a team that they had already beaten that season. They were better than the Carolina Panthers, and they even played in Philadelphia.
Nice low-key comment. Blitz. McNabb is pushed down, and it was Mike Rucker who got through.
got him on the ground, but he was able to leap over the top. Pretty good indication that Mike Rucker's knee feels pretty good, and Donovan McNabb is down.
The Carolina Panthers will be able to take their name off the list of NFC teams who never made it to the Super Bowl.
Perhaps the most disappointing game thus far in the Andy Reid McNabb era. They felt they really needed something to put them over the edge.
They ran him off, Mr. Clay. They're going to take another look. He went on a mission.
By himself, it was Terrell Owens. He was the only player. This was like 3 or 4 hours after all the other players left.
Left in the first quarter. Now the 49ers start with it from their own 24. That's Terrell Owens. That's Terrell Owens. That's a touchdown, San Francisco. No flags.
And Young stumbles on the way back and fires up the middle. Pass is caught by Owens. Owens made the catch.
Terrell Owens was having a rough day, but on one play here, does he make up for it?
Is that a pen?
He had a pen in his sock, and he pulled it out and autographed the ball.
A guy like Terrell Owens came with controversy because of his ego and antics, but Donovan McNabb wanted him. They had become pretty good friends during Pro Bowl appearances, and it just seemed like a good match. So the Eagles brought him in. There was so much publicity around Terrell Owens when he came in, and with all the hype in the world building up for his debut, this is how it started.
And how this will all work out.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to see the first play if they don't try to get the football to Terrell Owens.
He looks his way. Fires it his way. There's Owens at the 45. Inside the 20. And on the first play at Philadelphia in an Eagle uniform, Terrell Owens takes it 81 yards right on the jersey number.
Also add a dual threat tailback in Brian Westbrook, and perhaps the best left tackle in football at the time, you had one of the most potent offenses in recent memory. And then on the other side of the ball, they brought back former Eagles middle linebacker Jeremiah Trotter, who added to a defense full of Pro Bowlers. They even had a man known as the Freak. You better believe the Eagles were coming for every other team's throat. Nearing the end of the regular season, with their record at 13-1, they took their foot off the gas because they were easily the best team in the NFC, and you could argue the best team in the league. There was one major problem entering the playoffs. Terrell Owens had gone down with a fractured fibula, aka a broken ankle. This would require surgery and a screw to be put in his leg. This injury happened mid-December, and from a true recovery standpoint, he easily should have been done for the season. Luckily for Philadelphia, this team was so good, they would go on to make their 4th straight NFC Championship game, actually win that game, and finally make it back to the Super Bowl. And then here's the crazy part. Terrell Owens was going to play. He went against all the advice from doctors and suited up for the game. Although it's incredibly risky, you can understand his reasoning. It may be his only chance to win a Lombardi, and forever be a major reason for the city's first Super Bowl. Tied up at 14 entering the 4th quarter, it was anyone's game.
Holstein is blocking for Dillon. Corey Dillon, touchdown New England. Down the middle of the field, and the pass is picked off by Harrison.
How about that? Even Steve got to experience the Gatorade bath here.
Terrell Owens played incredible for his situation, and it would have been considered one of the gutsiest performances ever if they won. Sadly, with the way it ended, it almost gets forgotten. But for the Eagles, there was something much worse happening. Between what seemed at one point a great friendship, McNabb and Owens would go back and forth with each other, and in 2005, the year following the Super Bowl run, it all fell apart. T.O. would run his way out of Philadelphia, quickly signing with the Dallas Cowboys. McNabb would never really get into Pro Bowl form for years, eventually being sent to Washington for a handful of draft picks. So, to look at what this team did, to make it to 4 straight conference championships and then even a Super Bowl and come up short, ultimately, it's just disappointing. If McNabb and Owens could have got along better, this could have been a true dynasty, yet it just couldn't happen. The Eagles did reignite their franchise with the resurgence of Michael Vick and even early Nick Foles, although none of that really compares to the early 2000s Eagles. But guess what? The Eagles may have been a catalyst in helping the Patriots dynasty grow, but now, against all odds, they may have just ended it.
But I think every team has a shot, except for the #1 seed Philly.
Wait, the Vikings, Rams, Saints, Panthers, and Falcons all have a better shot than the #1 seed, the Philadelphia Eagles.
100%.
Launches downfield. Smith! Touchdown!
Do I think a team led by Nick Foles, even at home, can win consecutive games against really good teams? Absolutely not.